It's been a little while since my last video, and that's because I'm stuck. At least, that's what I keep telling myself. The last several weeks have been rough. Whether it's been fatigue, work-related stress, or something impossible to pinpoint, it seems every time I sit in front of my project, my mind freezes up. I'd like to design levels, but it's really hard to block out something that feels meaningful without knowing how it will eventually look. A big part of the appeal in my favorite games are the beautiful environments that invoke wonder, emotion, and escapism. And it's just not possible to feel that sensation when you're blocking out levels with solid colored tiles. I know this is how a lot of devs design their levels, but it doesn't seem to be working for me. It seems I can't create without feeling a connection to what I create. With that said, I've got custom assets on the way from an extremely talented artist, and I expect that it'll be much easier to design levels once they're done. In the meantime, though, level design feels like it's stuck in limbo. There are, of course, other systems I could work on. There's a host of features I've been meaning to implement, from save slots to controller support to revamped title and menus, but this can easily get overwhelming. It almost feels like the game's problems want to be tackled in a certain order, and until I have the first area up and running, I'm somehow cutting in line. I think that, again, this comes from a sense of needing to feel connected to the game, and it can feel meaningless to work on systems without being immersed in the world where those systems function. So that leaves me back at square one. Opening the project, clawing desperately for some progress, then getting tired or frustrated and conceding defeat, leaving me with exactly the same game I've had sitting in limbo for the past several weeks. Except, that's a lie. If I remove the self-imposed lens of negativity and look at the project objectively, it's absolutely not the same as it was in the last video. Since then, I've designed an entire level and found that it has excellent speedrunning potential. I even had a little bit of a back and forth speedrunning competition with one of the members of my Discord, until he comprehensively destroyed my time in a way I'll probably never recover from. In the process, though, we discovered new shortcuts and movement tech, and it began to remind me of why I started making this game in the first place. I also re-implemented remappable controls and a settings menu to the refactored project file, which was another big hurdle out of the way. Then while speedrunning, I thought it might be nice if the current time popped up on screen every time you hit a checkpoint, kind of like it does in games like Sonic Adventure. This gives you multiple landmarks to judge how fast you're going before the end of the stage, which is immensely helpful for getting faster times. Even though it's a very simple addition, it's impactful, and I don't know why I didn't think of adding it sooner. I also introduced momentum-based jump height, which means jumping while running up a slope will send you higher than a jump from flat ground. This opens up a lot of new shortcuts and movement possibilities, and it makes the flow of the game much better. I've added a bit of camera shake to the destructible barriers, and it's amazing how much just a little juice can add a ton of impact to your game's visuals. This might be just a small handful of changes, but it's a far cry from the lie of having made absolutely no progress. Even though most days have felt like a fruitless battle just to put a dab of paint on an empty canvas, progress has slowly continued just by virtue of not giving up. So that's the first lesson to be learned. Even if it feels like you're accomplishing nothing, sticking with a project is an accomplishment in itself. And often, progress is being made even when you can't readily quantify it. That said, feeling stuck is definitely not a place you want to remain forever. I'll openly confess that I haven't figured this out myself just yet, but I have a couple ideas that might help. The first is to simply do something else. As a creator, the feeling of being unproductive can sometimes be suffocating, and what's needed most is accomplishing literally anything to lift you out of that mindset. So try going for a walk, cleaning your room, doing the dishes, or working on another creative pursuit that you have more headspace for, maybe art or music. If none of those put you in a creative mood, try learning. Watch some tutorials or consult online resources for your language, software, or engine of choice. And if you're feeling particularly adventurous, try taking a course on Brilliant.org, who I'm excited to announce as the sponsor of this video. If you're unfamiliar with Brilliant, think of it as one of the most engaging and inoffensive ways to learn topics that actually matter to you. They've got thousands of courses on math, data analysis, programming, and AI, many of which are directly relevant to the process of game development. If you've got absolutely no programming experience, try the Thinking in Code course, which will lay out the foundational elements of code in a way that's incredibly easy to digest. If you're more experienced, you can skip ahead to algorithms or computer science fundamentals, or take some time to brush up on your math skills, which are pretty likely to come up when coding your game at some point or another. I found that setting aside a short time to work on some courses helped to dissolve my brain fog a little bit and get me into a more focused and creative mindset. I'm sure some of you will also find it helpful if you're struggling with a creative block. If that's you, go ahead and check out brilliant.org/swinkly for a free 30-day trial. If you enjoy it, you'll also be getting 20% off an annual subscription, so give it a shot and see if it can help you make learning a daily habit. Now, though I've just spent a lot of time talking about productivity, please understand that it's important to give yourself space to be unproductive. If you constantly have deadlines and self-imposed expectations hanging over your head, you are very likely to burn out if you don't take time to relax. In fact, even though it's my general goal to have one video out every week, you'll notice I took several weeks off from posting recently. In addition to job-related stress, I recently had to deal with the loss of a pet, something that affected me very deeply. For a while, it felt like all I could do was wait for one day to bleed into the next, and productivity was virtually impossible. I think it's important to realize that sometimes being unproductive is not only okay, but the right thing to do. In fact, sometimes you have to step away from something you love in the interest of preserving it. I've had to let multiple weeks of progress on Lost Resolve pass me by as I've worked to navigate stress, anxiety, and grief, and I'm not remotely back to the level of productivity I had earlier this year. But I'll keep moving forward, in hope that someday soon, I will be. In the meantime, I'm doing the best I can to take care of myself, particularly with my mental and physical health. I hope you will do the same for yourself. And once again, if you're feeling discouraged about your project or game dev in general, be patient. Impassable walls will eventually erode to rubble if you give them enough time. The key is simply not losing sight of what's beyond them. If you've enjoyed this video, please feel free to check out Lost Resolve on Steam, and join my Discord if you'd like updates on the game, or to know when I go live. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and best of luck with whatever creative pursuits you're currently chasing. I'll see you guys in the next video.